Chapter 141, Gu Shu Versus by Ning Bing, Part 2. Under the power of the rank 3 Gu worm, Qing Shu's eyes turned into a jade green color. At this moment, his aura changed. From a vibrant human, it turned into a deep serene forest feeling. Oh! Bai Ning Bing showed slight shock unknowingly. He pouted in dissatisfaction. It seems that after a long time, you've gained some interesting new skills. Icicle Gu. He willed the Gu, and 5 sharp icicles appeared out of nowhere. Go! Bai Ning Bing's ice hand pointed, and the icicle shot out. Pow pow pow. From Qing Shu's palms, 2 vines grew out. The vines danced in the air like 2 snakes, dancing agilely, easily deflecting the icicles. The icicle changed directions, only scraping Qing Shu's shoulder, and stabbed deeply into the ground, the hard mountain rock, and the forest that stood like a statue. Qing Shu easily broke through the attack, causing Bai Ning Bing's attack to be futile. Bai Ning Bing laughed coldly, "Your whipping skills got better, but I want to see, how many icicles can you block?" Saying so, Bai Ning Bing's eyes shone with a mild blue light. 10 icicles appeared immediately, floating in front of him before shooting towards Qing Shu. After that, 10 more were created. Like this, over several times, it turned into an icicle rain. Swoosh! The icicle tore through the air, emitting a sound that shocked people's hearts. Qing Shu dodged while manipulating his green vine with both hands, dancing like a shadow. His whipping technique after countless practices, had gotten to a level where he could command them like his fingers, fully in sync. But there was too many icicles, Qing Shu was bound to miss some, and his shoulder was hit by an icicle. The icicle penetrated his right shoulder, and the tip appeared from behind him. Pin Needle Gu. Qing Shu controlled the pain, sweeping his long hair. From the tips of his hair, numerous jade-colored pin needles shot out. The pin needles engulfed Bai Ning Bing, but he managed to activate the water shield Gu in time. It had gotten stronger too, and was much thicker than before, being no weaker than a rank 3 Gu worm's defense. The pin needles entered the water shield and slowed to a halt, before being purged by the water currents. But this also forced Bai Ning Bing to stop his icicle attack. Seeing this opportunity, Qing Shu ignored the pain and pulled out the icicle from his shoulder by force. There was no blood dripping out, one was due to the icicle's cold air, and the other was because his body was gradually turning into wood. Bai Ning Bing kept the water shield Gu, his gaze attracted to Gu Qing Shu's injury. From the opening on his torn shirt, he could see Qing Shu's injury, revealing the rings of the tree trunk, and his flesh could be seen recovering at an observable speed, and on the newly grown muscles, the tree's ring lines were formed. At the same time, both his ears started to become longer, and his hair turned jade green, with green leaves growing within. Both his hands, from the fleshy color of a normal person, turned darker and more reserved. His skin became harder, and turned into the brown tree bark. This was the first time he had used the wood charm Gu without considering the consequences. The wood charm Gu was causing him to turn into a tree spirit, and at the same time, Gu Qing Shu could feel the rich natural essence in the air. These essence could not be felt by ordinary Gu masters. Only special lifeforms like tree spirits could feel, absorb and use them. Gu Qing Shu felt that he was soaking in his mother's liquid, thick essence enveloping him, giving him a strong sense of fulfillment. On his body, the Moonwhirl Gu did not change, but the Green Vine Gu, Pin Needle Gu and the Vitality Grass all showed signs of growth. With Qing Shu's identity as a tree spirit, when he uses these wood attribute Gu worms, their power is amplified. Gu Qing Shu breathed deeply, he had never felt so strong before. The rich natural essence gave him an almost infinite source of primeval essence to use. This was the power of the wood charm Gu. But in his heart, a deep sense of fear also rose. He knew that if he was greedy over this strong and comfortable feeling, and used the wood charm Gu without restraint, he would eventually turn into a dead treeman. Anything had its price. Gu Xianxia soon suppressed this fear. He stared at Bai Ningbing and said 2 words, "Let's fight." Thus, the intense battle started. Green vine versus ice blade, icicle versus pin needles. One was the northern dark ice soul physique, with insane primeval essence recovery rate, and the other was the wood charm tree spirit, using all the natural essence as his own. This battle had far surpassed the realm of ordinary rank 3 Gu masters. Fang Zheng stood on the slope, watching dumbstruck. He had never seen such an all-out intense fight. Normally speaking, Gu masters have limited primeval essence, and they always have to keep 10% of it as reserves. Carefully using them, like thin ice. But now, be it Xianxia or Bai Ningbing, both were using it without constraints as if they had an unlimited supply of primeval essence. The entire path was wrecked by their battle. Huge trees fell and were destroyed, mountain rocks smashed to bits. After a long time. Blue bird ice coffin Gu. Bai Ningbing grabbed an opportunity and opened his mouth, and from within, an ice blue bird flew out. The flying bird chirped, its body like a pigeon, but under the boost of the northern dark ice soul physique, it gradually turned into the size of an eagle while flying, and after circling for a while, flew towards Gu Xianxia. Gu Xianxia could not dodge in time, so he faced it head-on. Bam! A sound explosion later, Gu Xianxia was frozen in an ice crystal as large as a room. It's over. Bai Ningbing sighed as he had not fully enjoyed himself. He saw the immobile Gu Xianxia within the ice crystal, and muttered, "Thanks for providing me such an interesting experience, this battle is the most exciting one I've had thus far. Xianxia, your death has meaning, I will remember it clearly." Lord Xianxia. On the slope, Fang Zheng shouted loudly. "Why are you shouting, you mere ant, the next one will be you." Bai Ningbing snorted, walking towards Fang Zheng. At this point, the sound of the ice crystal breaking entered his ears. How can this be? He turned around and saw that within the ice crystal, Xianxia had undergone a massive transformation. His body became bigger, and his rank 2 Gu master outfit was almost ripped. His hair turned into green vines, and palm-sized leaves grew on it endlessly, turning into a thick greenery. His fingers had turned into sturdy wood, his limbs turning into thick tree branches, only having a rough form for his arms and legs. With a sound, the ice crystal broke completely. Gu Xianxia stood up. He had already changed in appearance completely, the original delicate and handsome human face turned into a sharp-nosed, huge tree spirit face. He was 3 meters tall with a strong body, wearing tree barks as his armor, and on them were large amounts of leaves and vines. Bai Ningbing stared at his transformation in shock. Compared to this Xianxia, he was like a child beside an adult. This appearance, did you refine the wood charm Gu? This Gu is way harder to refine than my frost demon Gu. Bai Ningbing found the answer. Tree spirit wood charm can use the essence in the air, no wonder Gu Xianxia had such ample primeval essence. He realized at once, but got more confused. He asked the question in his heart, "Xianxia, using the wood charm Gu like this, aren't you afraid of turning into a dead treeman? So what if you win me? You're destined to die." Bai Ningbing. Gu Xianxia's voice became low, "I understand you like I understand myself. You and I are both orphans, adopted by the clan leader. Yet we walk on such different paths. A tree dying in a forest is nothing, for as long as the forest exists, numerous trees will continue to grow and rise up. Let's have our final battle, my nemesis." Saying so, hundreds of green vines assaulted by Ning Bing like giant pythons. For the clan. What a fool! Bai Ning Bing retreated in a rush. But the green vine's speed was faster than before by several times, quickly chasing up to Bai Ning Bing. Bai Ning Bing controlled his body and dodged nimbly. Green vines thick as an arm swept near his body, hitting the soil or the mountain rocks, causing the soil to fly and the rock fragments to scatter. Water Shield Gu. Bai Ning Bing could not dodge in time, and created his shield. Qing Shu had seen through the weakness of this Gu worm. He did not attack forcefully, but manipulated the vines to wrap around the shield. Next, he pulled back his strength, and the water shield came into contact. The surface water current moved quickly as it hit the green vines, causing water to splash everywhere. The water shield could not endure the strength of the green vine's restriction, and shrunk in size, on the verge of collapsing. Not good. If the water shield breaks and I get entangled in the green vines, I will get killed by Guyu Qing Shu. Bai Ning Bing in the water shield was sure of his situation. In the next moment, the water shield exploded. Bam! An ice blade storm exploded from within, becoming larger and larger. Bai Ning Bing purposely withdrew the water shield Gu's defense. Since defending couldn't work, he had to fight offense with offense. At once, the temperature fell and cold air emanated. The white ice blade storm flew towards Qing Shu. The vines could not stop this tornado, and were cut into numerous segments by the ice blades. Nice timing. Guyu Qing Shu had no fear, his large body bravely entering the ice blade storm. With a bam, he knocked onto the white color tornado. He opened both hands, wrapping around it. Crack crack. The sharp ice blades cut through his body, and numerous leaves and tree bark were sent flying. The delayed sense of pain assaulted him as Qing Shu growled in pain, but did not let go, using all his strength to grip the tornado. The ice blade storm was actually shrinking under his strength. Damn it! This maniac that doesn't care for his life. Bai Ning Bing scolded internally. In this situation there was no other way, he could only create more ice blades and rotate faster, competing with Guyu Qing Shu. The ice blades slashed on Qing Shu's body and gradually became blunt, but under the ice blade Gu's power, they sharpened once again. The battle was at a stalemate, out of their control, and no one could hold back and stop. Either Guyu Qing Shu kills Bai Ning Bing, or Bai Ning Bing kills Qing Shu. Pitting offense with offense, the battle was filled with bravery and intensity. Chapter 142, Guyu Qing Shu vs Bai Ning Bing, Part 3. Feng Zheng stood far away, not even daring to take a deep breath as he watched. The battle had reached the climax, the winner and loser will be decided in this showdown. Lord Qing Shu, hang in there. Feng Zheng was so nervous his body was shaking, he knew that going over would only cause trouble, thus he could only cheer for Guyu Qing Shu loudly. As if he heard Feng Zheng's voice, the ice blade storm got smaller, forcefully suppressed by Qing Shu. Damn it, I can actually get into a situation where my primeval essence is insufficient. Bai Ning Bing gritted his teeth, rotating slower as his primeval essence recovery could not keep up with his expenditure, getting into a helpless situation. The Northern Dark Ice Soul Physique's primeval essence recovery is very fast, but the recovery speed at rank 3 is still slightly inferior to the tree spirit's ability to extract natural essence. If Bai Ning Bing could cultivate to rank 4, his recovery speed would greatly surpass the Wood Charm Gu. Except, in life and death battles, there is no if. Whether it's win or lose, the results have to be accepted. Eventually the ice blade storm stopped, but Guyu Qing Shu also paid a heavy price. His arms were large like a horse carriage, and at the moment on his left arm he had 2 fingers left and 3 on his right. Both his palms were sliced off by half due to the ice blades. But when his palms gradually gathered together towards the middle, new tree branches grew again rapidly from his palm, interweaving together. The 2 palms formed a wooden cage, trapping Bai Ningbing within. Damn it! Bai Ningbing gritted his teeth. His primeval essence was running dry, he could only be at Xianxia's mercy. We won. Far away, Fang Zheng jumped at this sight. Am I going to die? Bai Ningbing shouted in his heart, his eyes widening as he saw the 2 palms approaching. When both palms clasped together, he would be smashed into a bloody meat pie. But the palm's speed became slower, and slowly stood in midair. Bai Ningbing was stunned momentarily, before realizing that Gu Xianxia's body had developed problems, instantly being overjoyed. Damn, I was so close. At this moment, Gu Xianxia's heart was filled with helplessness. His hands had lost all senses, completely turning into wood. At the same time, he gradually lost the connection to his intestines and lungs. The wood charm Gu's ability had corroded his entire body, bringing him to the brink of death. No, it cannot end like this. I can still use the green vine Gu. Gu Xianxia forced himself to focus and activated the green vine Gu. Numerous thick vines appeared and attacked Bai Ningbing through the openings of the cage. Bai Ningbing dodged quickly, but he had undergone several battles, and his stamina was greatly depleted. Furthermore, there was little space in the cage, and he could not move much, thus eventually a vine entangled onto his right leg and tripped him. It's over. Xianxia sighed in relief, as he quickly moved tens of green vines to follow up. At his moment of life and death, Bai Ningbing's aperture finally recovered enough primeval essence for his usage requirement. He used all the primeval essence without further thoughts, sending it all into the ice blade Gu, and formed a new ice blade. The ice blade was sharp and cut off the green vine on his right leg. Bai Ningbing rolled in a sorry state, managing to avoid tens of vines. The green vines hit the ground and penetrated the thick earth. The soil flew around, and the green vines attacked once again. Bai Ningbing breathed heavily as he used the ice blade to defend desperately. The green vines attacked from all directions, as if he was walking on thin ice. A single mistake by Bai Ningbing would cause him to be instantly killed by the vines. But he was after all a top-tier genius. With the stimulation of death, he squeezed out all the potential in him, and his evasive actions became quick and clear. Although he was tripped sometimes by the green vines, he managed to avoid the danger and eventually kept his life. The green vines were cut by the ice blades, and their amount became less and less. It was not that Xianxia did not want to activate the green vine Gu and produce more vines, but it was because the surrounding natural essence had been almost fully absorbed by him. Although outside, there was still essence in the air gathering, the diluted essence in the air was no longer able to fulfill the green vine Gu's needs. There was an even worse piece of news: the wood charm Gu's strength had completely corroded Gu Xianxia's body, and was starting to take over his consciousness. Gu Xianxia's consciousness started to become dazed, and he had intermediate blankouts. The aura of death was blowing on his face. Is it going to end? No. He was indignant, forcing his mind to focus and put in the last-ditch effort in killing Bai Ningbing. He could no longer see anything, for the wood charm Gu had taken over his eyes, and he could not hear any longer either, his ears merely an accessory now. He only had a meager sense of touch. Relying on Bai Ningbing's retaliation, he judged the distance and position, and attacked. His efforts were rewarded, as Bai Ningbing was finally captured. A vine wrapped around his neck and raised him up, gradually tightening. Bai Ningbing could feel difficulty in breathing, it was no use even if he opened his mouth. Along with Qing Shu, they was progressing towards death. Fang Yuan breathed roughly, an intense battle had ended. On the floor laid 5 corpses with opened eyes, they were all by Clan Gu masters. Relying on the stealth scales Gu to sneak attack, with the advantage of the Moonglow Gu and the strength of 2 boars along with his 500 years of experience, he displayed shocking abilities. Although he told Qing Shu he was going to return to the village, it was just an excuse. After leaving for a distance, he used the stealth scales Gu to hide himself, moving around the battlefield and going to the area where Man Shi and Xiong Li died. He collected the Gu worms in Man Shi and his groupmates' corpses, and when he got the Xiong Li's corpse, he found that the corpse was missing, not to mention their Gu worms. It seems that Xiong Lin collected their corpses. What a waste, I wanted to get Xiong Li's brown bear innate strength Gu. Fang Yuan sighed. Leaving Xiong Lin alive was not what he wanted. But back then, after he had killed Xiong Jiang, Xiong Lin was already vigilant, thus killing the latter would expend much effort. At that time, Bai Ningbing was close by. If Fang Yuan and Xiong Lin fought, Bai Ningbing would be overjoyed. But the brown bear innate strength Gu might not be on Xiong Li's body. He already has the strength of a bear, he might have given the Gu back to his clan already. Fang Yuan focused his gaze and escaped the mountain path battlefield. Qing Shu and the others fighting against Bai Ningbing would cause a huge commotion, and it will be detected by the surrounding wolf packs and Gu masters. Although Fang Yuan was not optimistic about Qing Shu's group, he had seen firsthand the power of the wood charm Gu in his previous life. Against Bai Ningbing, there would at least be an intense struggle. He was unwilling to give up such a chance, thus he chose to wait at the surroundings. At times, Gu masters were attracted by the sounds of the intense battle, so Fang Yuan lured some wolf packs over and restrained them. Those that he cannot stop, Fang Yuan would strike with his own hands. The mountain path battlefield's noise has come to a halt, it seems they are deciding the victor already. His right ear had roots growing out, digging into the mountain walls, allowing Fang Yuan to hear some things from the battlefield. Honestly speaking, Qing Shu's performance was better than expected. After Bai Ningbing lost his right arm, the effect on his battle strength was much greater than Fang Yuan had expected. But soon, Fang Yuan's expression changed. He heard large amounts of footsteps from 2 directions, heading towards the battlefield. One direction was from Guyu village, while the other direction was from the Bai clan village. Each group had at least 20 people. It was not something a bold lightning wolf pack could block, and Fang Yuan could not lure 2 groups of wolf over anyway. It seems the news about this battle has been found out by someone, so these are the reinforcements sent by the 2 clans, I have to enter the mountain path immediately. Fang Yuan's distance was shorter, thus being the first to enter the mountain path. The battlefield scenario was not out of his expectations. From the cage's opening, he could see Bai Ningbing hanging by the vines on his last breath, but was still barely alive. The ice muscles' defense are stubbornly sustaining Bai Ningbing's life. Humph, unfortunately, you have encountered me. Fang Yuan's killing intent surged as he took a few steps forwards, sprinting towards Bai Ningbing. Swish swish swish. Suddenly, a flurry of pin needles surrounded Fang Yuan like rain droplets. It was Guyu Qing Shu's pin needle Gu, attacking Fang Yuan. What is going on? Fang Yuan retreated immediately, avoiding the pin needle rain. He focused the gaze at the large tree, realizing at once, it seems that Guyu Qing Shu's consciousness had been blurred to the point where he can no longer differentiate between friend or foe. He's merely relying on his will and attempting to kill Bai Ningbing. Anyone that intrudes the battlefield would be regarded as an interferer by him. At this moment, Bai clan Gu masters appeared from the mountain path. Seeing such an intense battlefield, their faces showed a shocked expression. "The lad over there, don't make any unnecessary movements." A rank 3 Gu master shouted towards Fang Yuan, his tone full of warning and threat. "This Bai Ning Bing is such a cockroach." Fang Yuan, seeing this scene, laughed coldly in his heart, knowing that he could not have the last strike. Firstly, Qing Shu's consciousness was blurred, a green vine was insufficient to kill Bai Ning Bing who had the ice muscles. For Fang Yuan to get close to Bai Ning Bing, he had to break through Qing Shu's trap, but this way, it would divert much of his attention and might even help Bai Ning Bing in escaping his predicament. Even if they broke through by force, Bai Clan's rank 3 Gu masters and rank 2 elites were not for show, they would definitely stop him. Furthermore, fighting against Bai Ning Bing had danger as well. Bai Ning Bing's aperture had recovered primeval essence sufficiently to at least use the blue bird ice coffin Gu. Even if Fang Yuan managed to kill Bai Ning Bing, these Bai Clan elites would not let go of him, they would definitely kill Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan sighed in his heart, the distance is too long, there are at least 20 steps to get to him, and my Moonglow Gu's attack range is only 10 steps, furthermore, to kill this Bai Ning Bing who is destined to die anyway, I would need to put my life at such risk, greatly interfering with my rebirth plans, it is not worth it. Thinking so, Fang Yuan took a few steps back. This was evidently a weak and cowardly movement, causing the Bai Clan Gu masters to breathe a sigh of relief. Chapter 143, Answer. Soon after, Fang Zheng rushed over as well. Lord Qing Shu. He had an exhilarated expression, stupidly running towards Guyu Qing Shu, but soon was forced to retreat by the pin needles. Group leader, it's me Fang Zheng. He shouted in shock, sensing something amiss for the first time. But how could Guyu Qing Shu answer him? Big brother, what's wrong with Lord Qing Shu? Fang Zheng, under confusion and shock, could only turn to Fang Yuan. But Fang Yuan ignored him, squatting down and grabbing with his right hand, making a claw shape towards Bai Ning Bing. Plunder Gu. He secretly activated this Gu, quickly sensing that he had grabbed something. He quickly pulled back, and a Gu worm flew out of Bai Ning Bing's body. It was a red steel relic Gu. This was given to Bai Ning Bing by the Bai Clan leader, but Bai Ning Bing never used it as he quickly reached rank 3 cultivation. Now, it became Fang Yuan's loot. Seeing the red steel relic Gu coming out of Bai Ning Bing's body and flying away, landing in Fang Yuan's palm, the Bai Clan Gu masters were anxious until their eyes turned red, starting to scream. Scumbag, if you don't want to die, stop right now. Stealing our Bai Clan Gu worm right in front of us. It's a red steel relic Gu worm. Fang Yuan laughed coldly. Once the red steel relic Gu was obtained, he used the spring-autumn cicada to instantly refine it but did not keep it in his aperture, putting it in his clothes instead, giving the impression that he had not refined them yet. He grabbed once again, this time a gray-colored beetle flew out. Stone aperture Gu. Fang Yuan recognized this Gu immediately. As his eyes shone, he refined it once again and kept it in his arms. Damn it, yet another Gu worm. Stop him, he dares to do so openly, he does not hold any regard for our Bai Clan. Save Bai Ning Bing, kill these guys. The Bai Clan Gu masters growled, running furiously from the mountain path. Bai Ning Bing had the full support of his clan, so every Gu worm in his possession was outstanding. Now that they were snatched away by Fang Yuan in public, they all could feel their hearts bleeding. This felt worse than killing them. Seeing these people approaching with their imposing aura, Fang Zheng took a step back in fright, but Fang Yuan was unfazed. In the current scene, he and Fang Zheng were at the east side of the mountain path while the Bai Clan Gu masters were at the west, and in the middle of the two sides were Gu Xianxia and Bai Ningbing. Whoosh whoosh. Pin needles rained like cats and dogs. Damn it. Bai Clan Gu masters started scolding, as they were blocked by Gu Xianxia. Gu Xianxia is going to die any time. The remaining time only allows me to use the plunder Gu once. What would it be this time? Fang Yuan calmed down, using the plunder Gu again. Every time the plunder Gu was used, it expended a large amount of primeval essence. It depended on how strong the target Gu worm was. The harder the process, the more primeval essence is expended. If the plunder fails, the Gu master would even face a backlash. Thus, the plunder Gu was a rather unreliable Gu, with little usage. But at this moment, Bai Ningbing was almost dead, his consciousness was hazy and he was almost at his limits. Plundering his Gu worm was not hard at all. Among the Gu worms in Bai Ningbing's possession, the most valuable is the Frost Demon Gu. This Gu was on par with the Wood Charm Gu, allowing a person to transform into the Frost Demon. But if used for extended periods, it would cause the Gu master's life force to dwindle, turning into an ice statue. Bai Ningbing knew this weakness, thus he had never been like Gu Xianxia, using the Gu to such an extent. Other than the Frost Demon Gu, the second most valuable is the Blue Bird Ice Coffin Gu, a rank 3 Gu. Right now, it resides in Bai Ningbing's throat. If he can plunder the Blue Bird Ice Coffin Gu, it is the best scenario. But the plunder Gu is only a rank 2 Gu, even if the Gu master wills it, it does not have the ability to do so. Eventually, Fang Yuan caught Bai Ningbing's Water Shield Gu. This was not bad at all. The Water Shield Gu together with the White Jade Gu could provide Fang Yuan greater defensive power. The tree spirit that Gu Xianxia turned into was eventually felled by the Bai Clan Gu masters. They split open the wooden cage and saved the Bai Ningbing who had fainted after losing his right arm. Just as they were about to slaughter Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng, the Gu clan reinforcements arrived. The two were at a stalemate for a while, before both retreated in mutual understanding. Xianxia's death and Bai Ningbing's injury, with the threat of the wolf tide, such a loss is already horrifying. If a large-scale fighting broke out, for each clan their pressure for survival would intensify greatly. Regardless of which world, people always compete for their own benefits. And the greatest benefit in the world is undoubtedly survival. Eventually, Gu Xianxia's corpse and Gu worms were brought back by the Gu clan's Gu masters. The two sides held caution as they retreated from the battlefield. The sky was raining, and the entire area was gloomy. A group of people stood at a slope behind the village. This was the graveyard. Every now and then, there would be a few more gravestones erected here. In this world, it was tough for people to survive, and whether it is due to external threat or internal cause, there would always be a few sacrifices. The clan elder's voice was low as it entered everyone's ears, making them feel even more down. We have the same surname, we come from the same clan, the same blood flows in our bodies. We are so close together in distance, yet we are forever separated by life and death. This pain aches in my heart. Wait for me. Someday in the future, I will lay beside you as well. Let us turn into ash and soil, as we support our future generations. On a newly erected gravestone, a group of people hung their heads low. Some were crying softly, and some were staring at the name on the tombstone as they were filled with sadness. The cruelty of death was like a white bony arm, slashing a bloody injury on everyone's heart. Except that some were already numb from the pain, while others were still too inexperienced. Gu Fangzheng was among these people, his drooping eyes staring at the tombstone with Gu Xianxia, these 4 words. Dead? In his eyes, there was endless uncertainty. Yesterday's battle, the entire process and situation was still imprinted deep in his heart. His experience was limited, he did not understand Gu Yuqingshu's moving and tragic bravery as well as his sacrifice. But now that the truth was in front of him, he could not accept it suddenly. Dead? That kind Lord Qingshu that always smiles, advises, shows concern and takes care of me, is actually dead? Why did this happen? Why is it that in this world, good people die easily, while bad people live long? Is this a dream? Am I having a dream right now? Fang Zheng clenched his fists, and the realistic feeling of touch caused him to feel ever more upset. The discussions of the surrounding Gu masters entered his ears. Sigh, I can't believe that this time, even Lord Qingshu sacrificed himself. Humans will eventually die, but it is too much of a pity. I heard that Bai Ningbing still had a breath of vitality left, he was eventually saved. May he rest well underground, and bless us with the hopes of surviving this wolf tide. The crowd slowly dispersed, until Fang Zheng was the last one left. The young man's lonely shadow, facing the graveyard full of tombstones alone. Lord Qingshu. He suddenly kneeled on the ground, his tears falling on the ground. He was lost, he was regretful, he was in pain. Drip. Drip drop, drip drop. Bean-sized raindrops fell from the dark clouds, hitting on the ground, causing the leaves and tree branches to bend. The smell of the earth rushed into Fang Zheng's nostrils, and he wept in painful grief. The sound of his crying and the raindrops mixed together, his 10 fingers grabbed the soil, trying to retrieve Qingshu's life, but eventually he only had 2 handfuls of soil. It started raining, and Bai Ningbing lay upon a soft bed, staring at this rain blankly. His right arm, which was broken, was already taken care of, wrapped with a white bandage. His eyes also returned to black, but his cultivation was rank 3, he had no longer suppressed it to rank 2. When he woke up from his slumber, he suddenly lost all spirits, feeling extremely empty. He laid on his bed peacefully, his eyes opened for over 10 hours. He let the rank 3 white-silver primeval essence nurture his aperture, he couldn't bother to care about it. This rain triggered the deepest memories in his heart. It was under such a summer rain that he was officially adopted by the Bai clan leader. The clan leader's benevolent and hopeful gaze fell on him, as the surrounding clan elders gave their words of congratulations, gushing in like tidal waves. The young him stood on the icy ground barefooted, and he stared at the rain outside the window, but all he felt was being lost and lonely. What is the meaning of living? This question troubled him for 20 over years, and could continue to trouble him, until the problem of his self-explosion surfaced again. Is it for kinship, for the clan? Bai Ningbing unavoidably thought of Gu Yuqingshu. From young to adulthood, he had seen such a sacrifice many times, sometimes it is a Bai clansman, sometimes they were from Guyu clan or Xiong clan. He could not understand these fanatics, he was born as a cold and emotionless person. Gu Yuqingshu could not give him answers, thus Bai Ningbing thought of Fang Yuan. The first time he saw Fang Yuan was sitting by a tree, eating a wild fruit he picked, emotionlessly staring at the battle below. He was excited until his body shuddered, shivering with excitement. The reason was that he saw himself from Fang Yuan's similar eerie abyss-like iris. But now that he thought about it, Fang Yuan's gaze had something more than him. That thing is the answer to his questions. The rain got heavier and thunder rumbled while lightning flashed in the sky. What is the meaning behind living? In the dark room, Guyu Fangzheng asked the same question. Guyu clan leader, Guyu Bo sighed. He stared pitifully at the young man who had lost his soul, and then looked outside the window, at the rain. Fang Zheng's doubt was understandable, an unavoidable death always urges people to think behind the true value of existence. You know something? More than 10 years ago, there was another young man with a similar situation as you, and asked me the same question. Long after, Gu started to speak. That person is your clan leaders, my adopted son, Gu Qingshu. Feng Zheng was momentarily stunned, raising his head. A pair of swollen red eyes, showing an intense urge for answers. Chapter 144, Sacrifice is common, and faith is undying. I said to him, a person has 1,001 reasons to live. Why are you alive? I cannot answer that, only you have the answer. Go find it yourself, Gu Bo said. Then clan leader, what is your answer for yourself? Feng Zheng blinked in confusion, asking. Gu Bo laughed. In his eyes, Feng Zheng and Qing Shu's images were overlapping. Gu Qingshu had asked the same question in the past. Clan leader thought for a moment, recalling the past, then repeating the same answer he gave back then, an organization is bound to have sacrifices. From the moment a person is born, death is imminent. Between life and death, humans are fragile, but one thing can warm the heart and shine upon our souls. That is love. This is my answer. Sacrifice is common. Gu Qingshu is Gu Bo's adopted son, and after raising him for so many years, his current sacrifice brought great pain to this foster father. But as clan leader, he had seen far too many sacrifices. When one has the resolution of life and death, pain and grief becomes more acceptable. Feng Zheng lowered his head, keeping silent. It seems he was thinking. Clan leader laughed, taking a letter from the drawer in his desk. He handed it to Feng Zheng. This is Gu Qingshu's letter. It records the answers to questions he's been thinking about for years. I am handing it to you now, you can take a look. This is his answer. Undoubtedly, Feng Zheng's current heart had intense attraction to this letter. He opened it on the spot, and after seeing the first line, his tears could not help but flow out. It was Gu Qingshu's familiar handwriting. In his words there was his unique amicable aura. The starting paragraph recorded his perplexity and pain. Next was the situations that had given him some ideas through continuously thinking about them these past years. Feng Zheng looked at the letter, and felt like he had experienced Gu Qingshu's entire life. He followed Gu Qingshu's footsteps, until he finished the entire letter. At the end, this was recorded. The clan is like a forest, and we members are like the trees in the forest. The old trees extend their branches and shelter the young from rain and wind. When the young trees grow into large and tall trees, the old trees will turn into the nutrients in the soil, fertilizing the land and nurturing new trees. People will always die, and heaven and earth will not remember us. But new trees are the proof that the old trees have existed. Under this continuous testament, the clan forest becomes larger and spreads further, walking towards the path of prosperity and flourishment. People are bound to die. As Gu masters, we cannot hide from impending death. Even rank 7 and 8 Gu masters can merely live a little longer. Towards death, I feel fear as well. But I understand deeply, eventually, one day I Gu Qingshu will die too. I might die of old age, illness, or the battlefield. But at that moment, I can leave peacefully with no regrets. At the end of the letter. Lord Foster Father, the question I asked you before, I think I have found the answer. After seeing the letter, Feng Zheng wept soundlessly. In his mind, it was filled with memories of Qing Shu. When he committed a mistake, Qing Shu did not blame but instead comforted him. When facing trouble, the gaze of encouragement was given, and when in a loss, the hands of Qing Shu would warmly touch Feng Zheng's head. Gu Bo kept the letter and said, in future, when you think of the answer, you can also write a letter and tell me. Go, return and have a rest. The danger of the wolf tide is not over, we need you to contribute your strength as well. No. Fang Zheng slowly raised his head, clenching his fists. What? Gu Yubo asked. I found my answer. Fang Zheng's tone was filled with indescribable determination as he continued, I want strength. To protect my family, and protect them from any harm. I want to protect the clan, and strengthen the clan. I want the wolf tide to no longer be able to torture us, I want to see the happiness of joy of my companions. This pain, I do not want it to repeat. I want to use my pair of hands, my body, my soul, to protect those around me. Gu Yubo showed an expression of surprise, and at this moment, he felt that he saw Guyu Qingshu. Qingshu, you did not die in vain. Seeing Fang Zheng's shining eyes, clan leader sighed emotionally in his heart. An old tree has fallen, and just as it gradually decays away in the soil, a new sprout is already starting to grow rapidly. Renzu was unable to endure the heart of loneliness, thus he dug out both eyes, turning them into a son and daughter. This alleviated his sense of loneliness. But good things do not last, for his children started to crave the scenery of the outside world, forgetting all about their father Renzu and always going out to play until they forgot the time, and even forgot to take care of Renzu. Renzu could not see anything, it was total darkness. But at time, he could see a little bit of light. To this, he felt perturbed, and asked the Attitude Gu. Attitude Gu told this to him, oh, this is the eternal light given out by the Faith Gu. Faith? Bai Ningbing seeing this, laughed and threw the book that recorded the ancient legends out. The door was opened at this moment, and the person entering was almost hit in the face by the book. Ningbing, what are you doing? The one entering was the Bai clan leader. He frowned, consoling, I know your mood is bad, but losing your right arm is nothing. In this world, there are many Gu worms that can heal such an injury. In the past, I got the clan elders to stay by your side and protect you, but you always rejected it, and even attacked the clan elders. You finally suffered a loss this time, huh? But this is a good thing. Since young you've had too smooth of a path, but as long as it is not death, such a loss is no big deal. Your injuries are already healed, but the wolf tide is getting more ferocious, the clan needs your strength. A bunch of wolf cubs, what can they amount to? Bai Ningbing shut his eyes, lying on the bed and answering nonchalantly. Clan leader's face showed a serious expression, the situation is not looking good, or rather, it is pessimistic. According to our reconnaissance, there are already 3 frenzy lightning wolf packs moving near the village. Your failure brought a great influence to our clansmen. I hope that tonight, you can come out and show yourself. As long as you are standing, it can greatly motivate our clansmen. Do you understand? I get it, I get it. It's a small matter. Bai Ningbing responded, showing impatience. If it was any other person acting like this to the clan leader, they would have gotten heavily punished, but Bai Ningbing was different. Bai clan leader sighed helplessly, closing the door and leaving. When the room had only Bai Ningbing left, he opened his eyes, showing a gaze full of loneliness and perplexity. He did not tell the others about the problem with his body, and the premonition of death that he was feeling. From the clan's ancient records, he found out the name of the Northern Dark Ice Soul Physique. In that limited information, the 10 extreme physiques were also known as the Absolute Death Talents, for when the aperture walls reached their limits, the self-destructive power would be extremely great. It is true that the Bai clan leader had raised Bai Ningbing for many years, being so lenient to him. However, if the matter of the Northern Dark Ice Soul Physique was exposed, Bai Ningbing had no doubt that the first person to kill him would be this Bai clan leader. What's the point of a person being alive? In the past, when he considered this question, Bai Ningbing would feel lost, feeling emotions like boredom, frustration and anger, all these negative emotions. But now, his heart felt a sense of peacefulness. People would grow up, not to mention a genius like him. In the past, he knew that he was going to die, thus in his despair he longed to live, and he felt a sense of fear towards death deep in his heart. But now, after he had almost died, he had gotten over it. Allowing the rank 3 white-silver primeval essence to nurture his aperture, he was no longer worried. After all, he was no longer afraid of death. Even though he was still lost about the meaning of living, he knew where the answer was. This answer was already in Fang Yuan's heart. This feeling was indescribable, it was like an instinct, but he was clear of it. Moreover, the stone aperture Gu was in Fang Yuan's hands. "Fang Yuan, we will meet again," he lightly muttered, his eyes shining with a brilliant light, like the glimmer of a diamond. Stone aperture Gu. In the rented house, Fang Yuan held the Gu worm in his hands, falling into deep thought. Stone aperture Gu was like a dice, cubic and had a gray-white body, extremely sturdy. This Gu was an expenditure-type Gu, gone after one use. Its use was to turn a Gu master's aperture wall into a sturdy rock wall. This act completely squeezes the aperture's potential and growth dry, allowing the Gu master to reach peak stage cultivation. For example, Fang Yuan was now a rank 2 middle stage, so after using the Gu, he can instantly become rank 2 peak stage. But the price is, Fang Yuan would no longer have the possibility to advance to rank 3. At the same time, he would lose the ability to regenerate primeval essence, thus he would only be able to use primeval stones to replenish them. The stone aperture Gu was for some Gu masters who were at their wits' end. For some Gu masters' aperture that suffered an unrecoverable injury, developing cracks and can't be healed, they would have to use this Gu. Or in special situations, the Gu master has no hopes of advancing and need to raise their cultivation quickly to live. Thus they will use this Gu. The cost of refining this stone aperture Gu is very high. Seeing that Bai Ningbing refined this Gu worm, he probably wants to convert his aperture into a stone aperture to prevent the imminent death. Unfortunately, this method can only delay his death, but cannot stop his destruction. If the northern dark ice soul physique is so easily broken, how can it be called a 10 extreme physique? This stone aperture Gu was useless to Fang Yuan, but the red steel relic Gu he got from Bai Ningbing's body as well as the water shield Gu were very useful. As for the Gu worms Fang Yuan extracted from Gu Yuman Shi and the others' bodies, they were not outstanding, and once he returned to the clan he had them exchanged for large amounts of merit points. Because of the wolf tide, the issue of Xianxia and Bai Ningbing's battle was suppressed by all 3 clans, controlling their urges. The 3 clans needed each other's power to survive this ordeal first. Xiong Lin's report exposed the fact that Fang Yuan possessed the white jade Gu. But he used the reason of buying it from the caravan to get through for the time being. Chapter 145, Sacrifices are encouraged. As a person involved, Fang Yuan had to go through the clan's investigation. It was not an in-depth investigation, the ever-growing severity of the wolf tide had attracted almost all the attention of the clan's higher-ups. Fang Yuan's earth communication ear grass and stealth scales Gu were still concealed, but even if they were exposed, Fang Yuan could just attribute it to the caravan. In any case, communications had already been severed due to the wolf tide, the caravan won't be coming. Under such circumstances, the clan couldn't obtain the confirmation from the caravan and could only delay the investigation. When the results of any investigation truly came out, Fang Yuan would have already become a rank 3 and left Qing Mao Mountain. Of course, if the 4 flavors liquor worm and spring-autumn cicada were exposed, it would be a completely different matter. Either of them could cause a huge commotion in the village if exposed. For flavors, liquor worm represented a whole new fusion recipe and had extremely significant meaning. Fong Yuan wouldn't be able to explain it even if he pushed it onto the caravan, and would be thoroughly investigated by the clan. And spring-autumn cicada? If it was discovered, the wolf tide would be greatly sidelined. This is a rank 6 Gu after all. Even the clan head Gu Yu Bo would immediately dispense with the civilities, the nonsense of kinship and the clan head position could all be given up. There was no doubt that it would be forcibly seized. July was month of a scorching hot summer, and the hot air was filled with the iron smell of blood. The wolf tide was growing more serious and fights were becoming more intense. Many had begun to realize that the wolf tide this time was of a rarely seen enormous scale among all of past history. Bold lightning wolf packs had fallen to a supporting role now. Thousand Beast King frenzy lightning wolf packs had started to roam nearby the village. Mankind's living space had shrunk down to an extreme level. Even Guyu clan headquarters were as such. There was no need to mention the village at the foot of the mountain. 9 out of 10 houses were empty and a portion of fortunate villagers were living in the clan by utilizing all kinds of connections. But the majority of the villagers could only leave their homes and make an arduous journey to evade the wolf tide. Their destination was another mountain village. But the fierce beasts, wild Gu, and the lightning wolves that filled the whole mountain reduced their hopes to an almost negligible amount. This was a hopeless journey. Guyu clan could only give up on these mortals. They would all die before they even reached halfway to their destination. Either because of the fierce beasts or due to attacks from insects. No matter if it was mortals or Gu masters, they were all struggling between life and death. Even the elders who usually had a high position, had no choice but to don their armors and go to the battlefield. The Gu masters that had retired were enlisted again. When the wolf tide ends, those that manage to live on would definitely not surpass even 1/10. The cruelty of nature was displayed in all its glory at this moment. It was the survival of the fittest and in no way could it be avoided by speaking words of warmth. Fong Yuan sat cross-legged on the bed, his eyes were closed as he looked at his aperture. In his aperture, 44% of red steel sea waves were surging up and down. These primeval essence were all dark red. It was the rank 2 peak stage dark red primeval essence. Rank 2 primeval essence were collectively called red steel primeval essence. But it had 4 different small realms: initial stage, middle stage, upper stage and peak stage. There were also slight differences in the red steel primeval essence. Rank 2 initial stage primeval essence was light red, middle stage primeval essence was scarlet, upper stage was crimson and peak stage was dark red. Many days ago, Fong Yuan had advanced to upper stage. His crimson primeval essence went through 4 flavors liquor worms refinement and along with the replenishment from primeval stones, it had completely changed to the current dark red primeval essence. Right now, the aperture wall was no longer a watery membrane with the flowing light, but it was instead a thick stone membrane formed by layers upon layers of piled-up white light. White Jade Gu and Stealth Scales Gu were in the depths of the Red Steel Sea. For flavors liquor worm was playing around in the sea, but when the spring-autumn cicada slowly showed up, it immediately sunk towards the depths of the sea. Under the aura of the spring-autumn cicada, the surface of the whole primeval sea became as calm and smooth as a mirror without the slightest wave. Spring-autumn cicada's condition was getting better. Its 2 wings were completely recovered, appearing like a pair of tender leaves. Only its main body was still withered. Fong Yuan would check on spring-autumn cicada every so often. He could clearly sense the recovery speed of spring-autumn cicada increasing rapidly. The spring-autumn cicada was like a dying patient before, one who couldn't even open their mouths to eat and could only take in liquid food to preserve their life force. Now, this patient could get off the bed and eat much more food to nourish itself, the recovery speed would naturally become faster. Besides the spring-autumn cicada, there were two new members in Fang Yuan's aperture. They were both taken from Bai Ning Bing. One was Water Shield Gu, which looked like a jellyfish as it floated in the sea. Another was Red Steel Relic Gu. Fang Yuan's advancement to upper stage was because of the purified primeval essence by the four flavors liquor worm and continuous nourishment of the aperture wall, causing a qualitative change. Fang Yuan hadn't used the Red Steel Relic Gu. Just based on cultivation level, Fang Yuan would already be the third highest person among rank 2 Gu masters of Gu Yu clan. Xiong Li and Qing Shu were dead. Fang Yuan was in the top 5 even among the whole Qing Mao Mountain. As for Qi Shan and Mo Yan, they originally were at rank 2 upper stage but had advanced to peak stage not long ago. This could be said to have aroused the morale of the clansmen who were down after Qing Shu's sacrifice. Fang Yuan was progressing and others naturally were also progressing. Qi Shan and Mo Yan had been in upper stage for quite a bit of time and had continuously been pressured by the peak stage Qing Shu. The intense stimulation of death brought by the wolf tide caused Gu masters to have a deep thirst for power, squeezing out their potential and leading to cultivation advancement. But if we count fighting strength, I am the number 1 among the rank 2 Gu masters of the whole Qing Mao Mountain. Now, after I use this Red Steel Relic Gu, my cultivation will rise to peak stage, and when combined with my deep experience, I can even battle rank 3 Gu masters to a certain degree, Fang Yuan calculated. His low profile and patience had brought him plentiful gains now. He could advance to this stage with just C-grade aptitude. The whole clan would be shocked if they knew this. Even the A-grade aptitude Fang Zheng was only at rank 2 middle stage. Naturally, even if he advanced to peak stage, Fang Yuan couldn't win against rank 3 Gu masters. Bai Ning Bing was able to surpass levels and kill a rank 3 Gu master because of his northern dark ice soul physique. Gu Qing Shu also could do that because he had the Wood Charm Gu, a powerful and special rank 3 Gu worm. In actuality, Fang Yuan had a much stronger trump card than them, Spring-Autumn Cicada. However, this rank 6 Gu was very special, and Fang Yuan forced himself to not use it. Spring-Autumn Cicada hadn't fully recovered, and if it was forcefully used, whether it could rebirth would be a huge question mark. The Red Steel Relic Gu was only effective to rank 2 Gu masters. There was no value in keeping it. Fang Yuan was just about to use this Gu when there came a knock on the door. Dong, dong, dong. Lord Fang Yuan, it is me, Gu Xianxia, a voice shouted after the knocking. Fang Yuan frowned. This Xianxia was getting more overbearing recently. He would repeatedly look for him to ask for vitality leaves. The number of deaths and crippled people were increasing, causing the price of the vitality leaves to become increasingly higher and even becoming a situation of high demand but no supply. How many times have I told you that I don't have more vitality leaves? Get lost. Fang Yuan coldly snorted. How could he give up his cultivation time for trifle primeval stone's earnings? Outside the door, Xianxia had a flattering smile on. Lord Fang Yuan, please appease your anger. You are aware of the current situation. What choices do I have? Many Gu masters know I sell vitality leaves and they all look for me. It is not easy for the little me to pass my days. How about this? I will pay 10% more. Lord Fang Yuan, please be kind and give me a dozen vitality leaves. After speaking, he started begging and his sound carried some sobbing. Fang Yuan was indifferent. That is your affair, what does it have to do with me? Humph, your guts are getting bigger these days. You forgot the agreement between us and actually brought someone else. Ah. Xianxia gave a bitter smile outside the door. He looked at the old Gu master beside him. He had no other way. This Gu master was very powerful and had stubbornly followed him here. Little friend Fang Yuan. This old Gu master spoke. I am Gu Yuyi, I believe you have heard of me. I came to purchase some vitality leaves and hope you, little friend, can show me some respect and give a little time to produce some. Give you respect? Heh, what reputation do you have? Fang Yuan sneered. This Gu Yuyi was somewhat famous. He was a retired Gu master but had been brought back by the clan due to the wolf tide. At his peak period, he had reached rank 3. However, because of injuries, his cultivation dropped down to rank 2 peak stage, and now due to his old age, his cultivation had further dropped down to rank 2 upper stage. Although his cultivation was the same as Fang Yuan, his fighting strength could not be compared to the latter. Gu Yuye's expression was ashen. He had long heard of this eccentric loner Fang Yuan, a lad with a vicious and stubborn temper, arrogant and rude, considering everyone beneath him. He had prepared his heart before he came here, but to think that he had still underestimated Fang Yuan. He wanted to use his reputation, but this usually successful method had no effect on Fang Yuan. He felt his face burning and his heart filled with anger. He had lost all his honor right now. This disrespectful son of a bitch. He cursed inwardly, but didn't leave. He needed the vitality leaves. He was an experienced man and deeply knew the importance of the vitality leaves. In times, a vitality leaf could mean the difference between life and death. As one gets old, their courage starts to shrink. Back when he was young, he was hot-blooded and easily excited. He wanted to protect the clan's people, he wanted to change the world, he wanted to become a great hero. In those times, he had the resolution to view death as a return home. However, right now he was old and was much more cool-headed. He had seen through many aspects of life in these years and could be said to have reflected on himself. Especially after several of his children died, his heart had grown more cold. Any organization needs sacrifices. Resources are limited. Although they are produced all the time, they are also consumed. As such, this add and decrease limits the total amount. Humans need food, clothes, and lodging to survive. These are resources. Gu masters need Gu worms, primeval stones, and food to cultivate. These are also resources. Becoming strong requires even more resources. But if you don't sacrifice, then where can I get more resources? I rather compromise others than sacrifice my benefits. Protecting, honor, family love, dreams, hot blood, they are all honorable reasons for sacrificing. There are no organizations that do not encourage self-sacrifice. However, the higher-ups would never say that. They would instead talk of protecting, honor, family love, dreams, hot blood, happiness and so on, and give all kinds of material benefits. However, the material benefits are just nonsense once one dies. What could a dead, great hero enjoy? Look at Gu Xianxia. He blissfully died and was buried in the soil, his name carved in the gravestone as his spirit continues to influence future heroes. Chapter 146, Oppressive. Xianxia looked at the Gu Yuyi whose face was grim, the former secretly feeling happy in his heart. This old man had forcefully made Xianxia bring him to this place. Xianxia only had rank 1 cultivation and was a junior, thus he had to lower his head to Gu Yuyi and bring him here. But now that he had been humiliated, Xianxia's heart was envious of Fang Yuan's unrestrained personality. Gu Yuyi wanted to give Fang Yuan a few tight slaps, to lecture this arrogant junior. But for the vitality leaves, he had to control himself. Junior Fang Yuan, you can't say that. You are still young, you don't know the importance of human relationships, there will come a time when you need to beg others. Just think, in future when you come to ask me for a favor and I treat you like this, how would you feel? Bullcrap human relationships. Fang Yuan laughed in disdain in his heart. The so-called unity was just because they were individually weak. Human relationships, it was important on Earth. After all, there was no difference in personal strength among people. But in this world where people cultivated, things were inherently different. Human relationships were just a byproduct of strength. If one is strong, their human relationships would thrive. But for those who pursue relationships, they definitely have something to ask others of. As for not needing relationships, if one is overly powerful, they can snatch anything they want, give it away or die. Why would they need people's relationships? These were demonic path thoughts, and Fang Yuan would naturally not advertise them publicly. But since he was disturbed like this, Fang Yuan might as well do this business. Thus, he said, "It's not that I can't sell it either. 1 vitality leaf for 68 primeval stones. How many do you want?" Ha! Gu Yuyi outside the door was shocked by this price, quickly saying, "Junior Fang Yuan, this price is too expensive." Fang Yuan snorted, "Then don't buy it. Among the resources provided by the clan, there are also vitality leaves, you can exchange it with merit points." Gu Yuyi laughed bitterly, "How would I not know that, but these vitality leaves are all sold to those with relationships. The Medicine Hall clan elder Gu Yao Ji has complete control over it, how can I interfere? Junior Fang Yuan, sell me a favor, I will definitely repay you. From what I see, 60 primeval stones is a just price. I do not anticipate people's repayment, you have wasted enough of my time. 70 primeval stones, if you don't want to buy it, leave." Fang Yuan responded. Gu Yuyi was furiously stomping, "Junior Fang Yuan, how can you do business like this?" Fang Yuan snickered, "Times are different, it is 72 primeval stones now, every sentence you say wastes some of my time, and when I feel unhappy I will raise the price, I hope you can make the right decisions." Hearing this, Gu Yuye's face became furious, he wanted to say something, but every time he opened his mouth, no words came out. His hagged face was green and red, and Xianxia who was beside him saw this and cheered internally. Finally, he gritted his teeth, saying, "Okay, I'll buy it, I need 5 vitality leaves." You can hand the primeval stones to Xianxia. As for the vitality leaves, collect them from him 3 days later. Fang Yuan said. This was overbearing, trading goods and money was the most basic fairness. But Gu Yuyi still paid the money, handing multiple bags to Xianxia on the spot. His movements were slightly trembling, for this was his meager savings, the savings from him scrimping throughout the years, and now they were all taken by a shrewd merchant. Finally, he walked out of this bamboo building with an endless feeling of indignance. Lord Fang Yuan, what you did was really cool revenge. But I'm afraid you have completely offended Gu Yuyi. This old man, when he was young he always took revenge on people, he would not let go of this easily. Outside, Xianxia said carefully. Let him be, an old man relying on his seniority, he is bound to get eliminated by the clan. Fang Yuan opened the door, and Xianxia handed him the bags. The clan wants to resist the wolf tide, so that requires large amounts of resources. With less resources, they cannot maintain the large organization structure, thus they would need to get rid of members. These old men being alive were wasting precious scarce resources, they were destined to go. The wolf packs eliminated the old and sickly, expelling the crippled wolves. In human society, they would not be so obvious, always masking their evil with a shield of light, thus they called these old Gu masters to fight. So what if Gu Yuyi understood the intention? Being in the system, a person in society, they had no choice. The clan uses the reason of protecting their family and clan to call them to fight and sacrifice, how can they refuse? On earth there is a sentence, if the emperor wants the subjects to die, they cannot do otherwise. But still countless people fight for the positions of being the emperor's subjects. This was the allure and cruelty of the system. Every round of the wolf tide in the past, those old Gu masters who come out to fight, how many can survive? Let's not say 5 vitality leaves, even if we give this Gu Yuyi 50 pieces, he might not make it out alive. Fang Yuan stood at the door, laughing coldly. When Xianxia heard this tone, his heart was freezing. He could feel an aura from Fang Yuan, full of coldness and frost, like the northern winds blowing until he cannot raise his head. Fang Yuan looked at Xianxia, his eyes dark and black, continuing, from now on, other than the arranged timings, you cannot look for me. If you break my rules, be prepared to face the consequences. Letting you sell the vitality leaves for me, is on account of your brother. But respect is given by others, and thrown away by own self. Think over your own actions. Xianxia heard Fang Yuan's lecture, not daring to speak. Thinking of Gu Yuye's sad state, sweat poured from his forehead. Also, from now on, raise the price of the vitality leaves to 70 primeval stones. Fang Yuan said again. 70. Xianxia was shocked as he gulped, his eyes shining, as if he can see an endless supply of primeval stones. But he was also rather afraid, asking meekly, Lord Fang Yuan, raising prices like this, will it cause others to think that we are growing a fortune through the misfortune? Would we have the suspicion of taking advantage of the clan's state? If we do this, we might incur public outrage. Public outrage? Humph, what can they do? Do what I order, don't talk crap. If someone finds trouble, tell them the vitality leaves are sold by me. Fang Yuan snorted. Yes, yes, yes. Xianxia nodded furiously. Fang Yuan's words were what he wanted to hear, he was going to do this as well. He was just a rank 1 small fry, he cannot offend too many people. Throwing all these problems to Fang Yuan, he had already started doing so. A small fry also has his own survival methods, and towards Xianxia's intention, Fang Yuan was clear at heart. But cultivation difference and era difference, results in Fang Yuan living a different lifestyle. After using that red steel relic Gu, he would be rank 2 peak stage, near to rank 3. That means he has finally grown past the initial step, and having this strength means his life and future would be different. In the past he needed to lay low, but now he needed to be oppressive. Only when he is oppressive can he obtain the biggest benefit. As for this Xianxia, he still has some value to make use of. Even with his petty acts, as long as it does not infringe on Fang Yuan's benefits, he can tolerate it. Even revealing some unimportant trump cards is not a big deal. During peacetime, those higher-ups have nothing to do, thus they might find problems. But now that there is the wolf tide, who has the energy to care about such minute details? After the wolf tide, it is not guaranteed that the Guyu village still exists. Half a month later. Lightning wolves attack like tidal waves, causing the Gu masters to retreat in a hurry. Xiong Yuanzhen, you must hang in there. Guyu village is not too far away. Xiong Jiaoman stared at the clansman on the ground, her eyes turning red as she shouted. Leader Big Sis, I can't take it anymore. I have something in my heart I want to tell you. Xiong Yuanzhen was at his dying breath, his injuries were severe and his face was full of death. Okay, speak. Xiong Jiaoman sobbed. She knew in her heart that although this Xiong Yuanzhen was normally quiet, but he was secretly in love with her. At this moment, she knew what he wanted to say. But when Xiong Yuanzhen opened his mouth, he did not manage to confess and say, I love you. He had died of blood loss, injuries too severe to cure. His body was full of injuries, all from the bites of the lightning wolves. The most fatal blow was at his chest, from his right shoulder all the way to his belly button. This was caused by a bold lightning wolf. Big Sis, the situation is bad, another bold lightning wolf group came. The Recon Gu master shouted, his voice filled with panic. Xiong Jiaoman's cries ended, placing Xiong Yuanzhen's body down. She was the group leader, her group members need her. The dead has passed, and those alive has to continue facing the cruelty of this world. These goddamn wolves, is there an end to them? Xiong Jianman cursed fiercely. Her body figure was hot and she had a nice pretty face, so when she said these swear words there was a unique flavor about her. Hearing her words, the others calmed down internally. As Xiong Jianman cursed, she observed. The investigation result made her slightly distressed. She could kill a group of bold lightning wolves, fight her way out of 2 groups, but against 4 bold lightning wolf groups, the wisest decision is to retreat to the valley behind her and use the signal Gu, hoping for reinforcements. Retreat to the valley, Xiong Jiaoman shouted as she activated both her giant bears to protect them. These 2 giant bears were well raised by her. One brown and one black, with smooth and shiny fur, but they were both full of injuries all over their bodies. When Xiong Jiaoman and the others successfully retreated to the valley, these 2 bears were left with one. The black one had been engulfed by the lightning wolves pack after killing tens of lightning wolves, having run out of energy. A Gu worm shot out from the bear corpse, returning back to Xiong Jiaoman's hand in an instant. This was the bear enslavement Gu. It can be planted into bears to allow the Gu master to manipulate giant bears. Of course, it can only be an ordinary bear, for the bear enslavement Gu is a rank 2, it cannot enslave a bear king. If it can enslave a bear king, they would be strong. Because a bear king, even if it is the weakest, has at least 100 bear subordinates. If a Gu master can enslave a bear king, it means they have a beast group to manipulate as well. Now we wait for reinforcements, hopefully they can get here soon. Xiong Jiaoman panted as she sighed. They had retreated to the valley, thus the area they had to defend against greatly decreased, causing the pressure from the wolf packs to also decrease. But it also meant they had no way out, and the blood and continual battle would attract more wolf packs. The crisis was not resolved. At this point, from the cliff above their heads, a voice was heard. Everyone raised their heads to look, and saw that there was a young man. It's him. Gu Yufang Yuan. The 7 Xiong clan Gu masters were first invigorated, but then showed a complicated expression. Chapter 147, This Fang Yuan is too arrogant. Ever since Bai Ningbing and Qing Shu's intense battle, Fang Yuan who had chased after Bai Ningbing the entire way had become well known, and his popularity rose. These days, Fang Yuan had shown his strong side in the wolf tide, heading alone to hunt lightning wolves and showing shocking results. He was the new generation's rising star. If not for his strange personality and bad reputation, his status would be on par with Qi Shan and Mo Yen. But to the Xiong village members, Fang Yuan was also Xiong Zhang's murderer. Thus, when Xiong Jiaoman and the others saw Fang Yuan, they showed a complicated expression. Fang Yuan stared at them from above, waving his tree vine, saying slowly, "You can continue to wait for reinforcements, or escape using the vine in my hand and climb up the mountain." Who knew when the reinforcements would come? Matters on the battlefield were ever changing. Xiong Jiaoman and the others obviously chose the tree vine in front of them, but Fang Yuan actually asked them for remuneration. This caused the Xiong clan Gu masters to be furious. "Fang Yuan, we are alliance mates. How can you do this?" Someone shouted furiously. "Asking for the bear enslavement Gu, how shameless can you be?" Someone sneered. Fang Yuan calmly retorted, "1 bear enslavement Gu and 700 primeval stones, in exchange for all 7 of your lives, this is a cheap price. You can reject me, and I will go back to the clan to report your circumstances." Hee hee, but when will the reinforcements come? Will they encounter a wolf pack on the way here? That I cannot guarantee. Everyone became quiet. Their expressions were ugly. Alright, I promise you. Fang Yuan, you really live up to your reputation. Finally, Xianxia Man chose to give way for the sake of everyone. Her words were full of spite towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan shrugged nonchalantly. The result was as expected. He threw down the tree vine, and laughed coldly in his heart. These 4 bold lightning wolf packs were lured here by him. He wanted to wait for them to die before retrieving their Gu worms and get a huge amount of merit points. But their signal Gu had attracted the attention of the surrounding groups of Gu masters, and they were all rushing over to help. To not waste his effort, Fang Yuan could only act as a reinforcement Gu master for once. Xianxia Man and the others used the tree vines and successfully escaped from the wolf pack. Not long after, 3 Gu master groups arrived, and one of them was the Qi Shan group. This caused the 7 Gu masters to become even more upset. Xianxia Man was extremely regretful. Not long ago, she had withdrawn her consciousness from the bear enslavement Gu and cooperated with Fang Yuan in refining the Gu worm, thus even if she wanted to go back on her words now, it was impossible. Fang Yuan, I will remember you. Xianxia Man stared at Fang Yuan fiercely in the eye. Remember or not, that's your business. Fang Yuan laughed plainly, turning around and leaving. Miss Xiong, we meet again. At the other end, Qi Shan group arrived, speaking with a courteous tone. Ever since the Bai Ningbing incident, Gu clan lost a Qing Shu, and Xiong clan's Xiong Li died, thus the 2 clans got closer. Politically, Bai clan became resisted by the other 2 clans together, even though the alliance was still in place. Little sister pays respects to elder brother Qi Shan. Xianxia Man lifted her frowning brows, cupping her fists towards Qi Shan, continuing, this time, we are asking the Guyu clan for some reinforcements. Xiong clan has been surrounded by wolf packs for 6 days and 6 nights already. These days, the wolf tide was getting more severe. The lightning wolf packs have already started to surround the villages with the intention of attacking. Xiong clan had the lowest position among the 3 clans, situated at the mountain foot. They would be the first to get attacked by the wolf packs. In fact, this is the 3rd time they had gotten surrounded, and they needed reinforcements. With the coordination of offense from the outside and inside together, they would then be able to scatter and defeat these lightning wolf packs. The matter about reinforcements is not issue, didn't we cooperate well the last 2 times? But this matter, I have to report to the clan leader first. Come with me, Qi Shan said. Xianxia Man and the others followed Qi Shan group, coming to Guyu village. Guyu village already had layers of defenses. The outer walls were strongly reinforced with dozens of towers. Below the village walls were trenches dug and filled with sharp bamboo poles. The village walls had been planted with the steel vine Gu and poison flower Gu. At one glance, the walls were covered in sharp vines and the beautiful poisonous flowers were all budding, over hundreds or even thousands of them. Entering the main door, one could see that the surrounding buildings, whether it was a residence or tavern, had been all transformed into temporary forts. Xianxia Man and the other 6, after leaving the Xiong clan, their journey was filled with difficulty. Traversing through wolf packs, they all had different injuries. Thus, they were led into a bamboo building to receive treatment. There was over 10 healing Gu masters in the bamboo building, mostly rank 1 Gu masters, but also a few rank 2 Gu masters. But what caused Xianxia Man and the others to be shocked was, the person in charge was not a rank 2 healing Gu master, but a young girl. Put this unconscious one on the vine chair. The one here has a fracture on his leg, Guyu Xing, come here and give him treatment. Superficial injury, Feng, come here and stop the bleeding. Ah Xing, come here and apply the disinfectant. Xiao Hua, go place a fracture board on that leg fracture, then come here to bandage the injury. The young girl had black hair, a peach-like small mouth, both eyes shining like crystals, and her face was slightly chubby, with a alluring voice. But when she handled the patients, she was very experienced, causing others to look in amazement. Xiong Man suddenly thought of one person, asking, "This little sister, are you Guyu Yao Lu?" Xiong Clan Sister Jiao Man, hello. To think you know of my name. After assigning the Gu masters to their stations, Guyu Yao Lu walked over and introduced herself. Sister Yao Lu, you are a famous character. Inheriting Lord Yao Ji's benevolent heart, and also extremely talented in medical skills, even with your rank 1 cultivation, you are known as the top 10 rising stars in Qing Mao Mountain. Even at the Xiong clan, there are numerous people admiring you, sister. Seeing her strong background, Xiong Jiaoman politely praised as she was on a trip to ask the Guyu clan for help. I'm flattered, Sister Jiaoman. Guyu Yao Lu is still young, and her face turned red as she looked down in embarrassment after being praised. At this time, a Xiong clan Gu master complained, although you're both the top 10 rising stars, that Guyu Fong Yuan seriously cannot compare to you, little sister. Don't mention Fong Yuan, my blood boils thinking of him. Times without heroes, lad gains fame. Sigh. This person's morals are lacking, to think he is also a top 10 rising star, and even the number 1 position. Thinking about it makes me want to vomit. This sentence immediately attracted the attention of the people nearby, including the Guyu clan's Gu masters. Guyu Fong Yuan. What did he do this time? Someone curiously asked. Humph, he took one of my bear enslavement Gu, and even 700 primeval stones, as a reward for saving us. I've never seen anyone so shameless, and corrupted by greed. Xiong Jiaoman snorted, venting her unhappiness. This is nothing, there are worse things. His heart is blacker than coal, selling a vitality leaf for 80 primeval stones, he is taking advantage of the situation, this person is greedy and extremely shameless. He is too arrogant and proud. My friend wanted to join his group, however not only was he rejected, but he even got insulted in public. What's his deal? He's merely a C-grade talent. He is a living prodigal son, wasting the inheritance both his parents left him to buy a red steel relic Gu from the caravan. Next he snatched another red steel relic Gu from Bai Ningbing. If I had these 2 Gu worms, I can also have his cultivation. Lord Guyu Qing Shu is the best after all, humble and kind, too bad he died early. But his brother Fang Zheng has a sense of justice, helping those in need, and is kind-hearted, also having Lord Qing Shu's humble attitude, he is completely the opposite of his brother. Xiong Jiaoman did not expect her ranting to cause so much reaction from the Guyu clansmen. She was shocked. To think this Fong Yuan was such a failure as a human, being hated by so many people. She felt strange, asking, since he is so hated, why did no one teach him a lesson? The bamboo building instantly became silent. The Guyu clansmen all looked at each other, not saying a word. In truth, many people could not stand Fong Yuan's mannerisms, as well as his act of maximizing profit under such circumstances. Many people found problems with him, but the result every time was that the person finding fault got into an even bigger mess themselves. After many times, no one came to find fault with him anymore. And Fong Yuan also became publicly known as the head of the top 10 rising stars that emerged from the wolf tide. All these statuses originate from strength. Fong Yuan's battle strength was the strongest, so he was the head. Regardless of how bad his reputation is, or how poor his human relationship is. That Fong Yuan again. Guyu Yao Ji lightly frowned, muttering. She had never seen Fong Yuan, but had already heard much about him. Towards Fang Yuan, she had a poor impression of him. This Fang Yuan, although my senior, the things he does are unforgivable, and he is so extreme. He dared to extort Sister Jiao Man this time and got the bare enslavement Gu, not giving a hoot about our two clans' agreements. No, I must tell Grandma and let her teach this Fang Yuan a lesson, otherwise our Guyu clan will be humiliated. Thinking of this, the young girl suddenly felt that there was a need for a clan higher-up to come out and teach this Fang Yuan a lesson. She naturally did not have this ability, but she felt that her grandma, Medicine Hall's Guyu Yao Ji could. In her eyes, her grandma was omnipotent. You want me to deal with Guyu Fang Yuan? Yao Ji looked at her granddaughter, her expression blank, and soon after that she started getting nervous. My dear granddaughter, did he bully you? She hurriedly asked. He did not bully me, but he bullied others. This time it is the Xiong clan sister Jiao Man, he extorted her, getting a bare enslavement Gu and 700 primeval stones. This is too much. If this goes on, the clan's reputation would be completely ruined by him, Gu Yaolu said. Grandma knows this matter. Darling granddaughter, leave first, Grandma will not disappoint you. Yao Ji said after deep considerations. Thank you Grandma. Grandma, you do not know, but this person is too wicked, raising the price of his goods and bullying the weak. He is a true villain. After the young girl left, Yao Ji fell into deep thoughts. She had wanted to deal with Fang Yuan for a long time, however it was naturally not a naive reason like Yao Li's, but because Fang Yuan possessed enough profits for her to strike. First was the liquor worm. Although previously, Yao Ji had bought one from the caravan. But that was given to her granddaughter Yao Lu. She herself still needed one liquor worm as an ingredient to refine a rank 3 Gu worm she wanted to fuse. Next was the 9-leaf vitality grass. The clan's 9-leaf vitality grass were mostly in Yao Ji's control, and by relying on selling the vitality leaves, she could consolidate her authority and status in the clan. This Fang Yuan is too arrogant. First I wanted to buy his liquor worm, but he refused. What guts. This time he raised the price of the vitality leaves and earned a fortune. Does he really think I, the medicine clan elder, is thin air? Humph. Chapter 148, Circumstance. Two giant banners fluttered in the wind with a ringing noise. One was the battle merit board. Fang Yuan was now among the top 10 in the list. Another banner listed all kinds of goods which could be exchanged with battle merits. However, most of the Gu masters in the crowded plaza had their attention on a newly announced decree. The content of the announcement was, the wolf tide is becoming more fierce and the casualties among the clan's Gu masters are increasing day by day. To reinforce the treatment methods, the medical hall orders all the Gu masters who possess 9-leaf vitality grass to temporarily hand them over to the clan. The medical hall will organize staffs to unify all the productions. There were a list of names in the notification. They were the names of the Gu masters that possessed 9-leaf vitality grass in the clan. Naturally, Fang Yuan was also listed. Right now, he was standing in a distant corner looking at this notification. His expression couldn't help but turn ugly. At first sight, he had realized this to be Guyu Yao Ji's move against him. Humph, this Guyu Yao Ji has been indignant since she failed to purchase the liquor worm from me. I already accumulated enough battle merits to exchange for that 3 steps fragrant grass Gu, but she prevented this from happening in the dark. Now, she is actually coveting my 9-leaf vitality grass. Guyu Yao Ji's actions were understandable. People of the same trade were natural enemies. By controlling the sale of the vitality leaves, Guyu Yao Ji could consolidate her authority, deepen her influence and maintain her connections. However, Fang Yuan sold them an increased price, so this imperceptibly was infringing on her benefits and shaking her influence. I have a lot of Gu worms on me now: White Jade Gu, Moonglow Gu, Plunder Gu, Water Shield Gu, Earth Communication Eargrass and more. 9-leaf Vitality Grass is my most important economy source. If I lose this Gu, it will be like receiving a checkmate. Guyu Yao Ji made a really fierce move. Fang Yuan frowned. The discussions of the surrounding Gu masters entered his ears. Medicine Hall made a truly great decision. There are very few vitality leaves and they simply can't meet our needs. Every time a batch appears in the goods board, they will immediately be purchased by others. Elder Yao Ji is truly gentle and kind. Look at the name list, it includes several Gu masters from both Qi and Mo factions. She has no doubt offended many powerful elders with this action. Elder Yao Ji is thinking for the clan, she is worthy of respect. Only Lord Yao Ji has such courage. If it was any other elders, who would dare to take such action? Look, the notification contents have changed. Qi and Mo factions Gu masters have handed over their 9-leaf vitality grass. The crowd was boiling. 9-leaf vitality grass being consolidated and unified production meant the availability of much more vitality leaves. This was a great news to the crowd. Fang Yuan watched the notice with rapt attention and sure enough saw, beside the name list of these Gu masters, there were new words, handed over. His own name had thus become conspicuous. His heart felt increasing pressure. Guyu Yao Ji was an old veteran with deep schemes. With this move, she was borrowing the momentum to pressure Fang Yuan. If Fang Yuan resisted or disobeyed, that would be attracting even bigger troubles, giving people a hold over him. It was absolutely not a sensible act. This was the power of the system. If the clan wanted you to sacrifice, it won't directly say so. Instead it will drape a shiny cape of righteousness, and give you no choice but to submit. An example was the recruitment of those retired old Gu masters and making them sacrifice their lives. How could they resist? The current movement of collecting the 9-leaf vitality grass was asking Fang Yuan and other Gu masters to sacrifice their benefits to satisfy everyone, and was basically to Yao Ji's benefits. Anyone that dared to disobey was going against the clan and alienating themselves. They were traitors and rebels. To resolve this, small schemes like delaying tactics won't work and will instead put oneself into an even more passive state. Yao Ji's move carries righteousness and the public opinion. Any small schemes will be destroyed. Only by using an even bigger momentum, fairly fighting back and defeating her momentum openly will resolve this. Fang Yuan already had a solution. This plan was simple but grand: advance to rank 3. Rank 3 and rank 2 Gu masters had completely different status. In the clan, any Gu master that advanced to rank 3 would immediately become an elder and join the decision-makers' circle. Even the clan head couldn't lightly infringe upon their benefits. Don't think that the Gu masters of the Mo and Qi factions obediently handed over the 9-leaf vitality grass, seemingly sacrificing their own benefits. Behind the scenes, Guyu Yao Ji should have already completed secret transactions with Guyu Qi Lian, Guyu Mo Chen and other elders. This was political transaction. However, the majority couldn't see this truth and were hoodwinked by Yao Ji. If Fang Yuan was a rank 3 Gu master, even if he had to hand over the 9-leaf vitality grass, he would definitely obtain enough compensations in other aspects. Why was Guyu Yao Ji so anxious to deal with Fang Yuan? On one hand, it was because of benefits. Fang Yuan's actions infringed on her benefits, and similarly she wanted some Gu worms that was on Fang Yuan's body. On the other hand, Fang Yuan was already at rank 2 peak stage. If she didn't make any move now and waited for him to become a rank 3 elder, there would be no more opportunities. Advancing to rank 3 is a must. The clan can sacrifice rank 2 Gu masters, but rank 3 Gu masters are its pillars and each loss would incur a huge damage. Moreover, I have accumulated too many troubles. Xianxia died but the clan didn't do a careful investigation. I have the Water Shield Gu, Plunder Gu and other Gu worms, but the clan has turned a blind eye to it. My cultivation is advancing so fast, the higher-ups clearly know about it, but are enduring it and haven't examined the secrets on me. Fang Yuan was very clear on his current situation. On the surface, he looked to be strong and well off, but he was actually surrounded by danger. The clan didn't move against him because their attention was completely on the wolf tide. If they can't resist the wolf tide, the clan would be destroyed. In front of such pressure, Fang Yuan's situation was only a minor detail to them. However, once the wolf tide is gone, the clan's higher-ups would regain their energy. How could they not look for him to settle the account? Before in the academy, the clan elders didn't move against Fang Yuan because he was too weak. He was taking small steps and didn't infringe upon their benefits, thus not attracting their attention. But, it was different now. Fang Yuan's cultivation was already at rank 2 peak stage. If he took one step further, he would become an elder. Simply this cultivation had already touched the elder's nerves. His every movement was observed and noted by the elders. Any newly advanced elders could influence the whole political situation of the Guyu clan. This resulted in continuous suppression of Fang Yuan. What's more, Fang Yuan hadn't joined the system and entered any factions, thus these made the suppressions become even more intense. Neutral faction was also a faction. No one could tolerate the current Fang Yuan, someone who was roaming beyond the clan system. If I advance to rank 3, the suppression will definitely be much more lower than now, though they will still be there. Rank 3 is a point of qualitative change, a threshold. Stepping through it will bring one to a whole new world. Similarly, with rank 3 cultivation, I can freely move about. At worst, I will simply leave the clan. Fang Yuan was clear on this. However, advancing to rank 3 was not an easy thing. Especially considering Fang Yuan's C-grade aptitude, it was almost an impossible barrier. In his previous life, he had stalled at rank 2 peak stage for over 100 years. Until afterwards, he paid a painful price to obtain a Gu and promoted his aptitude. Only then could he step through this difficulty. In a Gu master's cultivation, it was easy to advance through small realms, they only needed enough time and patience. However, every large realm had a barrier, and the higher you go, the harder it is to cross. Especially the difficulty in advancing from rank 5 to rank 6 was beyond imagination, harder than ascending heaven. Fang Yuan already had a lot of difficulties in advancing from rank 1 to rank 2. Now, to advance from rank 2 to rank 3, there was no possibility of success by following the traditional route. Fortunately, in Fang Yuan's 500 years of life experience and vast memories, there were 2 to 3 methods. Saying it nicely, they were alternative paths, but saying it coarsely, they were demonic practices. This option was very suitable for Fang Yuan's current situation. With this option, advancing to rank 3 required one to refine a peculiar and bloody Gu, man-beast life burial Gu. An ancient devil path sect leader had made painstaking efforts and invented this recipe to strengthen his subordinates' cultivation. The man-beast life burial Gu was specialized for rank 2 Gu masters to break through to rank 3 realm. In his previous life, Fang Yuan explored unknown places and coincidentally found this recipe. It had made a deep impression on him and he had firmly kept it in mind. The crucial point was that the materials required for the fusion were not rare. If it were normal times, Fang Yuan might need 2-3 years to collect them, given his circumstances. However, the wolf tide gave him a great opportunity. He had already collected sufficient primeval stones and Gu worms. The only remaining thing was to wait for an opportune moment. Everyone, quickly look at the notice the medicine hall has just issued. They want to collect 9-leaf vitality grass and unify the production of vitality leaves. This is a great news. In the bamboo building, a group of Gu masters gathered near the notice pasted on the wall. They were all filled with delight when they read it. Ha ha ha, I reckon Fong Yuan is close to tears. Humph, serves him right for selling the vitality leaves at such a high price, exploiting our hard-earned money. I really want to see what expression Fong Yuan has now, it would definitely be very ugly. Many people were taking joy in the other's misfortune. He, this really lets us vent our resentment. We really need to thank Miss Yao Lu for this. If she didn't persuade Lord Yao Ji, how could there be such a day? Right, we are really grateful to Miss Yao Lu. Miss Yao Lu is not only beautiful, she is also kind-hearted, upholding justice and fairness for us. She has the demeanor of Lord Yao Ji. As she heard the continuous praises, Gu Yao Lu shyly lowered her head, she felt happy. Little sister Yao Lu. Right at this time, Xianxia man walked in through the door. I came to say my goodbyes. I saw the medicine hall's notice. I am really thankful to you for letting me vent out my indignance. People like Fong Yuan are black sheeps and need to be controlled. Big sister, you are leaving? Gu Yao Lu threw a concerned look. Xianxia man put one hand on her hip and pointed the thumb of her other hand to a group of Gu masters standing outside the door, saying, I have already asked for reinforcements, I must hurry back. Let's meet again next time. Yao Li's heart was filled with grief. Xianxia man had 10 Gu masters when she had left her clan, but there were only 7 left when she reached here. Now, these Gu masters were going to step into the cruel battlefield again. How many of them could safely return? Chapter 149, Wolf Pack Attacks the Village. Yao Lu sent Xianxia man and the others to the door with her gaze as they got further apart. But this separation was extremely short-lived. Merely 15 minutes later, Xianxia man and the others returned to the bamboo building. We are unlucky, there's a wolf tide, Xianxia man laughed bitterly, explaining. When the Gu masters in the bamboo building heard this, their expressions tensed. Xianxia man's group had great numbers, yet they were forced to retreat to the village. It showed the intensity of this wolf tide. Everyone get ready, the lightning wolf pack is about to assault the village, Xianxia man said. Once she finished her words, sirens resounded in the entire village. The village went quiet for a moment, then in the next instant noise erupted. This alarm, there is a large-sized wolf pack attacking the village. Quick, quick, gather all our group members here, there's a huge battle incoming. Damn it, I just got back, I wanted to get a good sleep. Gu masters cursed as some showed a cold expression. At once, in the bamboo building and on the streets, Gu masters could be seen moving quickly, gathering towards the 4 doors of the village as well as the outer walls. On the interior side of the village outer walls, there was a large wooden ladder at every interval for Gu masters to climb up. And the many defensive towers were made higher than the outer walls, like brave courageous defenders of the village. Fong Yuan was among the crowd, arriving at the base of the outer wall. A Gu master was treading on the wooden ladder, and as he was about to head up, Fong Yuan pulled him down and ascended himself. Which bastard? That Gu master was about to scold out, but saw that it was Fong Yuan and immediately shut up. Fong Yuan climbed up the wooden ladder, then he expedited the white jade Gu and peeked at the front lines. Just outside the village, there were roaming lightning wolves everywhere, thousands of them. Taking a glance, there was an endless number of glimmering green wolf eyes, causing one to break out in cold sweat. These wolves were all starving, and some were so hungry even their bodies were shrinking. The lightning wolves' amount was too much, it became a moving disaster. The surrounding wild beasts were either chased away or eaten, and for the wolf packs, they were getting less and less food. To them, a village full of people was a fatal attraction. Wolves were full of wildness, and a hungry wolf is even scarier, more dangerous, and crazier. A lightning wolf that is full would not attack the village. Other than these normal lightning wolves, there was also the bold lightning wolf. Although mixed in with the wolf packs, the bold lightning wolf was still easily recognized. Their bodies were as large as a calf. There was at least 30. Many people upon seeing this, drew in a deep breath. This was the second time Gu village had been attacked by wolves this year, but this size was almost twice or even more than that of the last time. These bold lightning wolves were all at the peak of their health, strong like bulls. Ordinary lightning wolves might not get food, but these 100 beast kings definitely had ample nutrition. Resources were naturally given to the higher-ups first. The benefits of the lower rank members would be stripped, sacrificed and given to the higher ranks. Be it human society or wild beast groups, it worked the same way. These bold lightning wolves are not the real threat. Fang Yuan's gaze moved, continuously finding and quickly saw 3 large wolf shadows at the back of the wolf pack, hiding under the shadow of the trees. Thousand Beast King, Frenzy Lightning Wolf. Each Frenzy Lightning Wolf was as large as an elephant. When Fang Yuan saw this, his pupils shrunk slightly, but went back to normal immediately. He continued observing, only finding even more bold lightning wolves coming in from all directions. Fang Yuan did not see the lightning crown wolf. Fang Yuan breathed out a sigh of relief secretly, for without the lightning crown wolf, the village was relatively safe. In his memory, the lightning crown wolf appeared at the end of August. It caused great damage to the Gu clan, and if not for the clan leader and elders joining forces to block them relentlessly, along with Gu Xianxia sacrificing his life to raise his strength, Gu village would have gotten wiped out already. Ever since his rebirth, Fang Yuan changed many things. Gu Xianxia had already been sacrificed prematurely, so Fang Yuan dared not be careless. There was even a possibility of the lightning crown wolf appearing now. Thus, he rushed to the site to observe the scenario. Howl! 3 frenzy lightning wolves raised their heads as they howled long and loud. In their cries, numerous lightning wolves received their orders, and started to attack the village. On the village's end, the Gu masters had already prepared themselves, getting into formation. Rank 1 Gu masters were all at the wall's corners, both hands supporting the cold walls. Rank 2 Gu masters, some climbed the wooden ladders while others gathered at the top of the towers. Right behind them, the temporary forts that were remodeled from buildings were filled with Gu masters, some were support teams, some were healing Gu masters from the medicine hall, and recon Gu masters were moving between them providing the battle information to the back-end staff. Some clan elders were at the back end, some ascended the tower buildings, and others watched at the sidelines, reserving their strength and being a pillar of mental support to the clansmen. They're here. Fang Yuan stood on the wooden ladder, his eyes glimmering. Lightning wolves moved from the entire mountain, forming into a tidal wave and assaulted the village. Rumble rumble. They first fell into the pre-dug pitfalls outside the walls, their bodies penetrated by numerous bamboo spears, like dumplings inside a pot. Some died on the spot, while others had some life remaining, crying out pitifully. The wind blew, and the smell of blood entered everyone's noses, while wolf cries entered their ears. The wolf packs attacked in a frenzy. Not only did they not stop, they were in fact stimulated by the blood and attacked even more furiously. Lightning wolves fell into the trap one by one, using their lives to pave the way for the others. Stepping on their companions' corpses, and crashing up onto the village walls. At once, thudding sounds were heard. A lightning wolf was powerlessly against the wall, but with the endless hordes, the impact caused the outer wall to shake. Rank 1 Gu masters below the outside wall held in their tremendous fear, and risked their lives injecting primeval essence into the steel vine Gu and poison flower Gu. The village wall's numerous thorns stabbed into the lightning wolf's body. The poison flower Gu gave these steel vines a poisonous touch as the poison invaded the lightning wolf's body. Lightning wolves scratched and attacked the village walls, opening their mouths and biting, but as their injuries intensified and the poison accumulated, their movements gradually turned sluggish. Pew pew pew. Rank 2 Gu masters stepping on the wooden ladders, along with those at the tower buildings, shot out moonblades. The moonblade shot into the wolf packs, and instantly blood splashed everywhere, and wolf limbs went flying. The bold lightning wolves began to enter the battle, immediately bringing injuries and deaths to the Gu masters. Fang Yuan's corner. A thin long blue lightning current moved about and hit onto the village walls, instantly penetrating and creating a hole. It electrocuted an unfortunate rank 1 Gu master inside as well. That bold lightning wolf that killed a Gu master quickly received heavy attention. Numerous moonblades flew towards it, but it dodged left and right, relying on the surrounding lightning wolves to provide cover, thus suffering only minor injuries. Howl! It opened its mouth, and between its sharp teeth, sparks flew, quickly forming an electric current that flew through the air towards Fang Yuan. Water Shield Gu. Fang Yuan snorted, and from his nose, 2 lines of light blue water vapor flowed out. The water vapor expanded, forming a water ball shield, protecting him. The lightning current hit the water shield and caused it to shake, almost breaking. Moonglow Gu. Fang Yuan kept the water shield, and from his wrist, 3 moonblades shot out. The moonblade's angle was tricky. The bold lightning wolf dodged the first, but its right front leg was hit by the second, causing its movement to slow down, and the third hit its head, causing a severe injury that crushed its left eye. It cried out in pain, but other Gu masters saw the opportunity and quickly, a flurry of moonblades enveloped it. Pew pew pew. This bold lightning wolf was instantly pelted, its body bathed in blood, and injuries were so deep its bones could be seen. Its body shook a little before collapsing completely. The surrounding wolf packs went into a panic, like ripples in a pond. But at this point, there were 3 frenzy lightning wolves behind holding the fort, and the wolf packs only went into chaos for a while before raising their claws and attacking the village walls again. Fang Yuan shot a few more moonblades out before getting down the wooden ladder. With just this, his deep red primeval essence had already gone below half, needing replenishment. Seeing him coming down, a rank 2 Gu master quickly replaced his position and ascended the wooden ladder. Normally, Gu masters that had long-range attacks would ascend the wooden ladder, or gather at the tower building's roof. Their emphasis was on the bold lightning wolf, as its threat was greater than any ordinary lightning wolf. Some bold lightning wolf had a Gu worm that assisted with jumping in their bodies, allowing them to leap into the village. Fang Yuan walked down the ladder, and continued towards the back. Surrounding him, there was people walking around, similar to him, those that had expended their primeval essence and were recovering. Another group of Gu masters replaced their positions and entered the battlefield, providing their strength towards defending the clan. This was a battlefield. Strength below rank 2 peak stage was meager. Only rank 3 Gu masters were the important pillars, able to control the situation. Fang Yuan came to a bamboo building. This was a modified building and was heavily reinforced. He squeezed his way in, where many Gu masters were sitting inside, holding primeval stones and recovering their primeval essence. Some healing Gu masters moved among the crowd, some squatted on the ground, some bandaged injured Gu masters, and the first aid kits were placed at the side. Fang Yuan found a spot to sit down, and a healing Gu master immediately came over. He shook his head towards her, and she understood, approaching another Gu master instead. Such a rotational strategy, all the way till 10 o'clock at night, Fang Yuan had already entered battle 5 times. But the lightning wolf packs did not seem to reduce. In fact, they could see even more wolf packs, hurriedly arriving upon hearing the frenzy lightning wolf's call. "It seems this wolf tide will sustain through the night," said a clan elder who stared outside the village, his face full of worry. At night, Gu Master's vision was poorer, but on the other hand, the lightning wolves had superior vision and were unaffected by the darkness. "This is only the second wolf tide this year, and it is already so intense. The situation is not optimistic." Another clan elder sighed. Guyu Yaoji's face was sullen. She was the Medicine Hall clan elder, leading the healing Gu masters. First-hand injury reports would be sent to her. On that thin piece of bamboo paper, it recorded the injuries and deaths of the day. Yao Ji held it in her hands, feeling solemn. The death toll was far greater than previous years. But she understood, this was not due to the decline of quality of Gu masters, but because the wolf numbers were too great, and too ferocious. 9-leaf vitality grass, how's the acquisition? Seeing the blood-red sun setting, Yao Ji sighed, asking faintly. Her subordinate quickly reported, 3 people had not given up theirs yet, and Fang Yuan was among them. Yao Ji listened and snorted, then asked, "Where is Yao Lu?" "Miss Yao Lu is near the east door, leading the healing team. I've advised her many times, but she refuses to stay at the back, insisting on going to the front lines to battle." Saying so, he kneeled down in horror. Yao Ji thought for a while before nodding, waving her hand to send off the subordinate. Near to her granddaughter, there was a clan elder. Xiong Jiaoman and the gang were also there, fighting at the village walls. It could be said that the front lines was the safest place. Although Yao Ji doted on her granddaughter, she supported her courage as well. The ones in power have their considerations. These experiences will become Guyu Yao Li's political advantage when she inherits the medicine hall. Chapter 150, I am only helping myself. The golden full moon hung in the sky, the drifting clouds casting a gloomy shade. There were desperate battles going on outside the village, and the bright moonlight was great news to the Gu masters in the dark night. Wolf corpses piled up in the traps and were already reaching the midpoint of the wall. This gave a good platform to move on for the charging lightning wolves. Some ordinary lightning wolves jumped, clawed, and even directly leaped across the wall. However, these lightning wolves usually fell or staggered due to the height disparity and were immediately disposed of by the standby Gu masters. At this time, Fang Yuan was standing on top of a tower, along with many other Gu masters. They were endlessly throwing out moonblades and other attacks at the wolf packs. In the whole battlefield, these towers were the most important source of damage. The combination of the Gu masters and the towers had eliminated a large number of bold lightning wolves. Kill, kill, kill. Annihilate these wolves. Nana, I will take revenge for you. Persevere, just a bit more. The clan's safety lies in our hands. The surroundings were a cacophony of noises. Some people were madly screaming, some were shouting revenge, some were shouting in pain, and some were shouting slogans. Fang Yuan indifferently stood there, his hand tossing out moonblades occasionally while continuing to observe the battlefield. Although there was a bright moon, the visibility couldn't be compared to daytime after all. The 3 frenzy lightning wolves were at the rear, unmoving, their figures indistinct. As long as they were unharmed, the lightning wolves were just cannon fodders, and even bold lightning wolves were only high-level sacrifices. Suddenly, a frenzy lightning wolf unhurriedly took a step forward. It opened its large mouth and threw a thunderball. Rank 3 Thunderclap Gu. This thunderball was not big, it was only the size of a millstone. However, a large amount of eerie blue electricity was condensed in it and its speed was strangely fast. Almost immediately, the thunderball fiercely collided with the tower Fong Yuan was on. The progress of the fierce battle had been in a deadlock. Many Gu masters were mindlessly fighting and they were not able to react to the thunderball. Water Shield Gu, White Jade Gu. Fong Yuan was only able to put up his defense before white light covered his sight. Boom! The huge sound from the explosion nearly ruptured his eardrums. A formless force erupted out from the explosion and sent him flying. The devastating thunder destroyed the water shield within 2 breaths of time. The surplus electric current struck Fong Yuan, and even with the White Jade Gu's defense, he still felt bursts of numbness. Bang! He fell to the ground from a height of 3 to 4 meters. White Jade Gu was not the Raiment Gu, it couldn't lessen the force on impact. Fong Yuan's back hurt all over. He quickly got up from the ground, his eyes repeatedly blinking as teardrops fell from it. After 3 breaths of time, he slowly recovered his sight. The tower that had been built with thick stones was half destroyed. There were many burnt black corpses scattered around on the ground. The thunderball attack had opened a huge hole on the outer wall, and an unending stream of wolf packs charged into the village like a tide. The frenzy lightning wolves finally entered the battlefield. 1000 Beast King level strength was extraordinary. The many Gu masters that were around Fong Yuan in the tower just a moment ago were completely dead, some left without intact corpses. Only Fong Yuan alone had survived. The jellyfish-like water shield Gu appeared very dull inside his aperture. If the water shield was continuously destroyed many times, the water shield Gu would also be damaged and could even perish. White Jade Gu was also in a similar state. Gu worms were strong and yet fragile. Take this Thunderclap Gu for example. Its thunderball was very powerful and fast, also difficult to resist. But it also had a weakness, it couldn't be used repeatedly and needed some time before the second thunderball could be shot out. Boom! But Fong Yuan had just stood up when another thunderball flew over. To think this Wolf King has 2 Thunderclap Gu on it. Fong Yuan's complexion turned pale and he hurriedly dodged. He tried not using the water shield Gu and only relied on the defense from the White Jade Gu. Beast, stop your insolence. At this critical timing, a figure appeared in mid-air, golden light bursting out from the figure as he resisted this thunderball. The elders had made their moves. However, 1 elder was still not enough. Soon, the elder was joined with 2 other elders. A frenzy lightning wolf needed at least 3 groups with great teamwork to join hands, or at least 3 rank 3 Gu masters to face it. The frenzy lightning wolf took heavy steps forward, emerging from the indistinguishable wolf packs, as the surrounding wolves gave way. It gradually started from a slow run, and then got faster and faster, charging at the village wall with its head lowered. Seeing this scene, all the rank 1 and rank 2 Gu masters fled in terror. Only those 3 elders still remained on their spots. Everyone tacitly vacated this part of the battlefield and left it to them. The intense battle between the 3 elders and this frenzy lightning wolf unfolded. Not long after, the other 2 frenzy lightning wolves also charged towards the village, opening another 2 battlefields. 9 elders and 3 frenzy lightning wolves formed into 3 great battlefields. Thunder and lightning burst out everywhere, destroying the bamboo buildings. Most of the Gu masters or the lightning wolves who were caught in these 3 great battles didn't have a good end. Lighting wolf packs were still charging towards the village, but Fang Yuan didn't fight anymore and moved to a corner of the battlefield, observing the three great battle stages from a distance. No doubt, the attacks from these wolf packs had reached the climax. Three frenzy lightning wolves, one has two thunderclap Gu and has high offensive power, another has thunder wings Gu and can fly for a short moment, giving it very high flexibility in the battle, another holds the thunder roar Gu and can kill its enemies with the sound waves. Fang Yuan slowly got the details on these three frenzy lightning wolves after observing for a moment. 1,000 Beast King usually has 3-4 rank 2 and a rank 3 wild Gu worm residing on it. The Gu masters could give proper response as long as they were clear on these Gu worms. Once the frenzy lightning wolves suffered targeted attacks, with their low wisdom, they wouldn't change their monotonous attack styles, and the battle outcome was certain. Sure enough, soon the several elders retreated and other elders replaced them. With the mutual coordination between them and superior tactics, they were soon able to occupy the upper hand. After a short moment of intense battle, they controlled the battle situation. Victory was only a matter of time. The outcome is set. Just when Yao Ji puffed out a sigh, a roar sounded out from the eastern gate. A lightning wolf was growing bigger, from the size of a normal lightning wolf, as if air was blown inside it, it swelled up to a size of an elephant. There is actually another frenzy lightning wolf. Many elders were alarmed at this scene. Their attention had all been on the three battle stages. As their entire battle formation was heavily emphasized on these three areas, the forces at the eastern gate was somewhat thin and weak. Not good, Yao Lu is still there. Yao Ji suddenly turned pale, and she immediately shot out towards the eastern gate. To think there was still such an unforeseen event. This frenzy lightning wolf should have a rank 3 aura restraint Gu, it used this disguise to mix in with the lightning wolf packs and deceive the Gu masters at the eastern gate. Fang Yuan observed carefully, the situation at the eastern gate was far from good. A frenzy lightning wolf suddenly appeared and directly smashed the eastern gate, creating a huge hole. Countless lightning wolves flocked behind the bold lightning wolves, howling savagely as they charged into the village. Guyu Yaolu was numb with fear as she saw the lightning wolf packs charging in like a tide. Fortunately, she had veterans like Xiong Jiao Man beside her. At this critical timing, Xiong Jiao Man took it upon herself to control the scene and ordered, "Quick, close the doors and the windows. We need to defend this place till the reinforcements arrive, and only then will we have a fighting chance." She had just finished speaking when, bang, the roof of the bamboo building collapsed under the attack of the frenzy lightning wolf. Guyu Yaolu screamed. The abrupt twist in events had caused her to lose her composure. She was after all too young and only had rank 1 cultivation. She had stubbornly stayed here because she felt safe and had never thought she would fall into such a dangerous state. "Brute beast, stop at once!" Guyu Yao Ji shouted while frantically running. She helplessly looked as the frenzy lightning wolf rammed into the bamboo building. Her beloved granddaughter was in a dangerous situation, but even though she had the power, she couldn't help her because it was beyond her reach. At this dangerous moment, it was again Xiong Jiao Man who stepped forward. She willed in her mind and her remaining brown bear charged towards the frenzy lightning wolf with a roar. The frenzy lightning wolf swatted with its right paw, sending this 400-kilogram over brown bear flying. It opened its mouth and bit the brown bear's head to pieces. How could an ordinary wild beast resist 1,000 Beast King level strength? Xiong Jiao Man took this time when the frenzy lightning wolf was tangled up with the brown bear to rush out with Guyu Yao Lu in tow, managing to pull apart a small distance. The frenzy lightning wolf roared. It naturally wasn't willing to see its prey run away like this. It leapt and crossed a dozen meters at once, landing in front of Xiong Jiao Man. Suddenly seeing this frenzy lightning wolf appear in front of her, Guyu Yao Li's legs went soft. Xianxia man dragged her but didn't dare to rush forward recklessly, she could only change her direction and run towards the outside of the village. The frenzy lightning wolf was just about to pounce on them when Gu Yaoji arrived and threw a light purple moonblade at the wolf's back. The moonblade quietly changed into a ball of miasma and bore into the frenzy lightning wolf's nose. The frenzy lightning wolf immediately coughed twice, it was poisoned. This was the rank 3 moon poison Gu. The frenzy lightning wolf was furious, and it raised its head and roared. Its fierce roar formed into an invisible force and smashed into the surroundings. Thunder Roar Gu used the vibration of the sound waves to kill, but this was not Thunder Roar Gu, it was the soundwave Gu which formed invisible pushing force. Xiong Jiaoman and Gu Yao Lu were sent flying into different directions by this pushing force. Xiong Jiaoman struck a bamboo building, no more movements could be seen from her, whereas Gu Yao Lu was sent flying past the broken eastern gate and out of the village. The fall stunned her, and as she tried getting up, she saw a lightning wolf opening its bloody mouth and trying to bite her. Ah! She gave a shrill scream, and at this critical juncture, a moonblade flew over and killed this lightning wolf. She hurriedly stood up and saw the benefactor who saved her. He was a young male Gu master. The lower half of his body had been buried under the collapsed wall. The male Gu master vaguely smiled at her with his blood-drenched face. The next moment, his throat was ripped open by the swarming lightning wolves. Tears flew down Gu Yaoli's face, and she cried as she ran. This part of the battlefield was extremely chaotic. Because of Gu Yaoli's identity and background, there were Gu masters who helped her out from time to time. But they were powerless to even protect themselves, much less help her out of this predicament. Gu Yaoji was also tangled up with the frenzy lightning wolf and couldn't attend to her. Gu Yaolu was perplexed and fully at a loss within. There were only the images of claws and teeth of the lightning wolves in front of her. In her frantic state, she suddenly heard a voice speak, "Move a step back." She subconsciously followed the voice and was able to luckily avoid a lightning wolf's bite. "Roll to the right." That voice came again. Yao Li's consciousness was still blank, but her body had already made the move. There was a snapping sound of a wolf's mouth. She had escaped the bite by a hair's breadth. The voice arrived unceasingly, and the young girl meticulously followed them. There were mistakes made sometimes, but at those times a moonblade would fly over from seemingly nowhere and get her out of the trouble. Only when there were no more lightning wolves around her, did Yaolu discover that she was already safe. It was only when she had unconsciously drifted far away from the village and was in a remote forest. A human figure appeared in front of her. Her eyes immediately opened wide. "Gu Fang Yuan, you were the one who helped me?" "No, I am only helping myself." Fang Yuan grinned, revealing an evil intent.